I know a lot of you have heard me say that I have been accused of being a poet, and they're right, I'm a stepping razor. But the very first time I was accused of that, well, let me read you the poem. The poet recalls his first reading. Riding home from celebrating my first book, compadre riding shotgun, our lids heavy with poems and tequila, in beat-up sports car, crawling towards Bernal Heights, dawn a spider with 1,000 legs of light. A black and white, flashing triple strobes, angry at Latinos riding around this hour of the morning instead of heading to work, pulled us over. Compadre and I exchanged glances as other encounters with belly clubs, handcuffs, broken ribs surfaced from our suddenly awake memories. Without my license nor proof of birth, I proved my name by reciting a poem, while badge number 8601 dug my rhymes and followed along in my proud book. Then 8601 returned to patrol car while I winked at compadre thinking, we're cool with the heat. So I never saw old 8601 slide up my window like a snake and put the .357 Magnum to my temple, the barrel cold as a pinpoint of ice. The gun trembled in his hand, and his words pressed through lips tighter than a chicken butt. You've a red warrant. Move and I'll blow your fucking head off. I slanted my eyes at him and replied, be cool. I'm not that bad a poet. True story. Here's another poem about a poet who perhaps was not as lucky as I was. And I'm talking about perhaps the greatest poet of the 20th century, at least in Spanish, Federico Garcia Lorca, who's assassinated by the fascist forces at the start of the Spanish Civil War because he's a poet, because he's a playwright, because he's progressive, because he's queer, and his body dumped in an unmarked grave. And even today, the greatest poet of his time, we don't know exactly where his bones rest. Lorca's dream. They tell me that your clavicle is a star over Andalusia, that your melancholic metacarpals still clutch a clod of earth in Sevilla, that your hips have not ceased dancing in La Habana like in Nueva York, that jasmines bloom in your eye sockets, and every petal a poem, that your jawbone is the voice of all the silenced ones, the undocumented ones, the deported ones, those insulted and executed, that the moon cradles your bones, Federico, fragile as hummingbird wings. That's what I was told one silvery night by the hip red ants that sleep in your cranium. Now, the nice thing about this poem, but please don't try this at home with your own poem, is that with a few quick origami folds, Lorca's dream turns into a paper airplane, and then the dream flies off. Nice catch, John. I just thought I'd try something different. Yes. Que no lo traigo en español. ¿Lo traes en español? I was going to read one in Spanish a little bit later on, but I guess we can do it now. El sueño de Lorca, because I actually wrote this originally in Spanish. Me cuentan que tu clavícula es una estrella sobre Andalucía, que tus melancólicos metacarpianos aún aprietan un terrón de Sevilla, que tus caderas jamás han cesado de gozar así en La Habana como en New York, y que en las cuencas de tus ojos han brotado jazmines y cada pétalo un poema, que tu quijada es la voz de todos los sospechosos, los desgraciados, los deportados, los insultados, los fusilados, y que la luna arrulla tus huesos, Federico, frágiles como alas de colibrí. Así me lo contaron una noche plateada las hormiguitas rojas que duermen en tu cráneo.